Yeah, Amber says, that is really helpful for me. I did the best I could with the information that I had. I think so much of what keeps us stuck in anger is feeling like a fool for trusting them. Yes. It's a lot of, I think that's so common because hindsight is always 2020. And it's so easy when we're not so emotionally invested in a situation to see it clearly. That's why other people oftentimes give really great advice, is because they're not emotionally invested in it, so they're seeing it clearly, right? So if we're in a problematic situation and we're it's that cognitive dissonance, right? So it's like this fog of cognitive dissonance sets in on us, and here we are trying to justify what we're experiencing. Whereas other people who they don't care either way because they're not emotionally invested in it, they can see clearly. They're like, yeah, obviously this guy's cheating on you, or yeah, this woman's being abusive. Like, what? Yeah, this is very clear. Like, what's the problem? It's they're not emotionally invested. So when we get out of these dynamics and and then all of a sudden that fog lifts and we're seeing the situation clearly, it's this feeling of overwhelm of, how could I have been so stupid? Why did I gloss over these red flags? Oh no, what's wrong with me? Like, seriously, what is wrong with me? And there's this weight of guilt and shame and embarrassment that comes just tumbling down. But again, if it's cognitive dissonance, it's whenever we want to believe something bad enough, we'll rationalize it and justify it. And that's why we do crazy things. That's why we do irrational, illogical things. But at the time, it doesn't feel irrational because we're rationalizing it. And that's probably one of the more common themes within the emails and messages I get from people is there's, oh, and it just breaks my heart, but people that are just, they're so embarrassed, and they're even so embarrassed to tell me, and they're like, oh, Dana, like, this is what I did. I can't believe I stayed. Oh my gosh, what have I done? What's wrong with me? And here's the kicker, or they'll say, I am so stupid. I just am so stupid. But the reality is, and this is what I was going to say, here's the kicker. It's actually the opposite. The smarter a person is, the better they are at rationalizing a situation. So a lot of times people that get, for example, a lot of times people that get caught up with cults or with with abusive relationships, or with any type of abusive relationship, because a cult is a form of an abusive relationship. A lot of times they tend to be highly educated people and intelligent people. And it's because they're able to better convince themselves of why what they're doing is okay. So I get emails all the time from people that are doctors, attorneys, people that are familiar with domestic violence and abuse, police officers, therapists. They're like, I can't believe this happened to me. Like, what's wrong with me? What does this mean? What does this mean if I'm a therapist and this happened to me? Like, how do I, what does this mean? If I'm a therapist, then like I must have terrible judgment. I must have terrible insight. And it's this crumbling and questioning of a person's identity and of who they are and what they do. And the reality is it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. It's this person, these abusive people are very charming. They exploit vulnerabilities. Because we're all human, we all have vulnerabilities. It's easy to fall into this if we're not familiar with what red flags look like, and especially if we really want something to work out. If we really want something to work out, we're going to justify what we're experiencing. It's that whole cognitive dissonance thing, and nobody's immune to it. So it doesn't matter. A person could, you know, have 10 PhDs in psychology and still fall for it. Lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this.